Okay. As chair of the SAU board, I'm calling a special meeting of June 25th, 2020 at 6:06. Read the governor's announcement here. As chair of the SAU board, I find that due to the state of emergency declared by the governor as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, in accordance with the governor's emergency order number 12, pursuant to Executive Order 2020-04, this public body is authorized to meet electronically. Please note that there is no physical location to observe and listen contemporaneously to this meeting, which was authorized pursuant to the governor's emergency order. However, in accordance with the emergency order, I am confirming that we are A, providing public access to the meeting by audio and video, utilizing a Zoom webinar platform for this electronic meeting. All members of the board have the ability to communicate contemporaneously during this meeting through this platform, and the public has access to the contemporaneously listen and view by clicking on the following website and address. So this is a mouthful. https://j/917-141-136-776 $PWD equals ZEVOZ-BGIZR2HJE-TUOZ-BGIZR-2HJE-TU-OY-3MSUT09, or by telephone and by dialing 646-876-9923. Webinar ID 917-1413-6776. The password is 952513. B, we previously gave notice to the public of the necessary information for accessing this meeting, including how to access the meeting using Zoom or telephonically. Instructions to have been provided on the website of the board at https://public.timberlane.net/SAU. C, we have provided a phone number for the public to alert the public body during the meeting if there are problems with access. That phone number is 978-912-0582. D, adjourning the meeting if we will adjourn this meeting if the public is unable to access the meeting. And reschedule if the public is unable to access the meeting, sorry. Please note that all votes that are taken during this meeting shall be done by roll call vote. We will start the meeting by taking roll call attendance. When each member states their presence, please state also whether there's anyone in the room with you during this meeting, which is required under the right to know law. So with that, Kat, could you please call the roll?
Brian Boyle.
Here. I'm alone in the room, and other family members are present in the home.
Lee Doobie.
I am here. I am alone in my office. There are other members present in the household.
Kimberly Farah.
Here, I'm alone in the room. There are other family members present in the household.
Barbara Kishka.
I'm present and alone in the household.
Sheila Lowe's.
Here, alone in the household.
Sarah's not here. Megan Malcolm.
Here, I'm alone in this room, though there are other people in this house.
Sean O'Neill.
I'm present and I'm alone in my office, and there's other members of my household in the house.
Caitlin Parnell.
Here, I'm alone in the room. There are other members of my family in the house.
Kristen Savage.
Alone in the room, there are other members of my family in the house.
Jennifer Silva.
I am here alone in my office with other members elsewhere in the home.
David Smith.
Yeah, I'm here alone in the room with other people in the house.
James Sweeney.
Hi, alone in the room, other members of my family in my house. Thank you.
And Karen Yasenka. Not here. And Dr. Metzler. Okay.
Okay, so if you could all rise, please. And, oh, I guess we cannot do that here. We don't have a, I meant to ask you that about a pledge of allegiance here, Barbara, so,
Sorry, not all the comforts of IT department.
okay, I'm sorry. Okay, so we will not be honoring the pledge here tonight. Okay, I'm gonna go right into the agenda then. First item on the agenda, hostile work environment legal case. I put this on the agenda to clean up the minutes, if you will, of our April 15th meeting. During that meeting with council, we fully discussed an appeal process of a pending lawsuit regarding hostile work environment, and Attorney Ford walked us through the process, how you really go through a motion to reconsideration and request a stay of execution, and then you formally go through an appeal to the Supreme Court. Our minutes do not reflect that, so I will entertain a motion to ratify really what this board did back on April 15th, and to ratify and give Attorney Ford the authority to file the New Hampshire, the case in the New Hampshire Supreme Court.
To appeal it, correct?
Yes, to appeal that.
So moved.
I'll second that.
Second. Kat, could you please call the roll?
Order.
Go ahead.
I think you should open the floor for discussion before you call for the vote.
Okay, I'll open the floor for discussion.
Anybody?
Okay, hearing none. Kat, could you please call the roll?
Mr. Boyle,
Yes.
Mr. Doobie,
Yes.
Dr. Farah, Mrs. Kishka,
Yes.
Ms. Lowe's,
Yes.
Mrs. Malcolm,
Jane.
Mr. O'Neill,
Yes.
Mrs. Parnell,
Abstain.
Mrs. Savage,
Yes.
Mrs. Silva,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Abstain.
Mr. Sweeney,
Abstain.
Okay, thank you, Kat. So you're tracking the votes here, Kat. So what do you got here for total? Track those votes, Kat?
Yep, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 yeses of Timberlane, and 1, 2, 3, 4 abstentions from Hampstead.
Okay, thank you. Motion passes. Next agenda item, merit raises by contract legislative agreement. I put this on the agenda because this is especially in light of the pending withdrawal here, negotiations with Hampstead. I wanted everyone to have the ability to weigh in on, well, the SAU employees' contracts. So you have legislative agreement for, like administrative staff. And then you have some of senior employees have contracts. So I thought it was wise to have the full board weigh in on this before one board try to obligate the other board for the next year. And so I had sent out an email to Dr. Metzler to freeze positions for 90 days, which he did. So as of right now, we have an assistant superintendent vacancy. Kathy Belcher is retiring. Her last day is June 30th. So, and I believe Grace, who's our receptionist, she's also retiring. So I asked him to just hold off and hire anyone for 90 days until, so again, didn't want to tie the hands of either board. So that's why I put this on the agenda item here. So I'll open up the floor for any comments. Okay, I'm not hearing anything, so you want to we can just leave this in the hands of the superintendent.
Is this, sorry.
Go ahead.
Was this, so this is on here as merit raises, but we're talking about basically vacant positions?
You don't know, we're talking about raises. In other words, there is a lot of our employees, Jenna, have what they call letters of agreement versus contracts. And historically, the superintendent just, we have our annual meeting and we'll have a pool, and it's usually about 3% of the salary line for salary increases. And historically, the superintendent has decided, who gets what, and, does his thing. And I just thought it made sense this year. Well, I want to run it by the board. If doesn't make, it's okay with me, what the pleasure of the board is. I thought it would make sense to have the board weigh in on that. If you just want the business as usual.
Do they, their letters of agreement go July, do they not have them yet for July 1?
They've got them, so he's put them on, he's kind of put them kind of on hold right now. So,
okay.
And that's, I'm not 100% sure of that, but I think that's what I believe he did. And I talked to him briefly about this a little over a week ago.
I just want to make sure people understand that they have a job.
Oh, they have a job. No, they definitely have a job. No, this is not affecting anyone getting terminated. Right? This is just, they have a job. This is increases.
Okay. So they already have a letter of agreement that's saying they have a job from July 1 to June 30th of 2021.
Correct. They kind of get automatically renewed. And usually, historically, the board usually, quite frankly, I don't think the board usually even weighs in on this. I think usually the board just weighs in on the senior personnel.
Yep. Okay. Thank you.
Kim, you just want to say? So
historically, the board has not, the superintendent has been given, has a pool of money that's within the existing SAU budget. Mm-hmm. That pool can be distributed. It's approximately 3% plus money for raises and bonuses. So for Timberlane folks, if we are looking to increase salaries here as we move to withdraw in the next year, this increases our post-employment benefit liabilities. So I think that was one of the reasons that we were looking to potentially put a hold on increase and or bonuses this year. Now, my understanding contractually, I think there are only 2 employees eligible for bonuses. That would be the business administrator, the CFO, and the superintendent. The superintendent is done by the board initially. I would like to know, I would like the board to weigh in if there's going to be a bonus to anybody else. And I also think that the Timberlane board, given the fact that we're looking at a pending withdrawal and we don't know when employees are leaving and or when, because at the time I requested that we kind of put a hold on this, we were in mediation and we were looking at potentially, without withdrawing, actually just people kind of doing, I don't know, different functions. So the salaries are still currently at their last year rate. So the question before this board is whether or not we're going to just allow the superintendent to take that entire salary pool and distribute it, which ultimately, especially for the Timberlane with post-employment benefit liabilities, could potentially cost us, I don't have a dollar figure, but there would be some expense to it.
I'm thinking that, Kim, it's between 25 and 40,000, but it also costs Hampstead too, though. This is not just the Timberlane expense. Hampstead pays also.
Correct.
That's why I wanted, them to have the ability to weigh in on it. That's all.
I would make a proposal that he could move forward with that, but with the approval of the chair and the vice chair in agreement.
Well, just so everyone knows, that Kim mentioned, I mentioned earlier that historically, we, whether the chair, the vice chair, or even the board, has not weighed in on the administrative staff raise like this. We just don't do that. We leave it at that.
How about we take this one at a time, then I'll make the motion that no SAU bonuses be distributed for this year.
For the
I'll
new
second
contract,
that.
For July 1st,
Correct, 2020 to 2020 to 2021.
or ending this year? Because that's usually an ending this year, correct?
No, for the upcoming fiscal year. So this would be no bonuses from July 1, 2020 to June 30th, 2021. And Sean seconded the motion.
Okay. Any discussion? Any further discussion on that?
No.
Okay. Hearing none. Kat, could you please call the roll?
Mr. Boyle,
Yes.
Mr. Doobie,
Yes.
Dr. Farah,
Sorry, yes.
Mrs. Kishka,
Yes.
Ms. Lowe's,
Yes.
Mrs. Mockamer is still not in attendance. Mrs. Malcolm,
Abstain.
Mr. O'Neill,
Yes.
Mrs. Parnell,
No.
Mrs. Savage,
Yes.
Mrs. Silva,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
No.
Mr. Sweeney,
No.
Mrs. Yasenka is still not in attendance.
What's the tally on that then, Kat, please?
8 Timberlane yeses, 1 Hampstead abstention, and 3 Hampstead no.
Okay, so the motion passes. So now you're talking about the raises, and me, I personally have no problem. You're not talking a lot of people here of me personally of letting those cost of livings go through.
Well, they cost of livings, I mean, I don't believe it's standard 3% all the way across. I
It-
believe.
You only has a max of that, Sheila. In other words, that's his total pool.
No, I understand that.
So that's probably what he would do. So I don't want to.
No, Sean, do we know what cost of living was for this year? What percent? I know, I'm just asking Sean because I know we do it in Danville every year.
Yeah, but
You're muted.
You're muted.
You're muted, Sean. But I think the more accurate thing, Kim, is what our employees get, whether they're teachers, support staff, or same thing with Hampstead employees. I think that's more.
Well, they all get different raises.
Yeah, but
So
Yeah,
back
but what I would worry about would be is that, you got a pool that we set aside, which is 3% of a complete salary line item. And
Yeah.
now that there's less people that are vying for that, the pool can then be increased. Somebody could win, a big windfall.
I believe, I just want to weigh in on this because last year, I believe we asked for salaries. I know we did. And I did a calculation between the year before and that year. And Sean, to be truthful, some people got 6%. Some people in there got 3%. Some people got, it was very variable all the way around. It wasn't a flat rate of 3% like you're saying. It was very much varied per position.
Okay. Jen?
I'm just looking for the budget because I know in the budget we had a specific line for merit increases, but to your point, Sheila, I do recall that as well. So I guess
Yeah, there was some that was 6.5.
I'll make a motion for
Brian, can I make a statement? Can I say something before we do a motion, please?
Please, go ahead, Caitlin.
Absolutely.
So I think we're going to be asking a whole lot of our support staff over the next year with withdrawal. And while I can understand the rationale of not wanting to increase liabilities, frankly, I think it's a pretty crappy way to treat a bunch of employees who are going to be helping two districts separate into their own SAU.
I wish you could
I don't
my
think
motion first.
we have a budget item that has already been approved through the budget. And I just have to say that I don't think it's an appropriate way to treat our support staff.
Caitlin, you didn't hear my motion, and if I motioned and seconded it, we could have had a discussion, because I don't think that would have been the discussion.
Great, well, I apologize. I realize my camera's not working right now, so I tried to jump in. So go ahead, Jen, no problem.
I was going to make the motion that we move forward with increases as the superintendent see appropriate, not to exceed 3% cost of living.
And saying that, I can say that I will second that.
Okay.
Can I ask for clarification on that motion?
Sure.
So is that 3% of the total pool, or is that 3% of the 3% per person? Because that's a different number.
Oh, 3% of the individual salaries. Do you need me to reword that?
I think I would do that to clarify what the number is.
Are you okay if I amend that, Caitlin?
Yep.
Okay, so to allow the superintendent to, what was the word I said?
May I jump in? Increase individual salaries by no more than 3%, because maybe not everybody gets 3%.
Yes.
Attorney Ford, does that seem like a reasonable motion?
Yes, it does.
Yeah, that's what I meant when I was saying by no more than 3% or not to exceed 3%, Kim. Yeah, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I agree. And again, I agree with Caitlin that not only that they're going to have to do stuff, but I don't want to see employees get punished. You know.
Oh, no.
That's all.
I absolutely agree. I just don't want it to be, you know, as it was. I don't want to see that huge gap either.
Anywho.
It's a very small office.
Okay. So
Just
any
to
other-
add to that, Brian, I just looked that up, and the number that I've always used at the town, it's a rolling 12 months, and it's a 0.6% is the core CPI for the Northeast region.
Yeah, but I hear you, but we have, fortunately,
Yeah,
we've treated our people better, which is a good thing. So,
right. Okay.
Any other comments before we take the vote?
Yeah, I got a.
Yeah, this is Jim. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I just have a question here. Now, typically, I'm not, so for Sheila, typically, like, I have employees that'll get us a range. Not everybody's near the same percent. I've had people up to like 7%, 8% for those people that are going to get promoted. So does this eliminate the promotion of anybody as well? Like, if somebody's going to go from an admin to a senior admin, and typically you give a bigger bump than like with the traditional 2 to 3%. Is that what we're preventing from this?
No, I don't think Dave, you're preventing that, because that would be a promotion, and that would be part of that phrase. That's like, so if somebody who works there is going to end up with a promotion and get a different job, then that's what they'll get. If that's a salary 5, 10, whatever the increase is. That's
Whatever the increase is.
Yeah, that will not prevent that.
Okay, that's what I just want to check. Thank you.
Jim, did you have something?
Yeah, so, just like Ken said, not everyone's going to get 3%, right? Some people might get 2, 1, none, 3. But what about Dr. Metzler wanting, or someone, their merit increase, the work that they put in, really, they were above and beyond. They were 4%, they were 5%. That handcuffs Dr. Metzler not to be able to acknowledge that person. And like you said when we started, Brian, normally we don't weigh in on this. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, Sean, what you were saying about a windfall. That sounds like a little conspiracy theory. I would believe that if someone got a 6% a couple of years ago, they probably deserved it. I hope there's no one playing games. So I'm not going to believe there are games played. I'm not going to believe there are games played. But what I'm saying is someone might deserve more than 3%. Okay? Now, if Dr. Metzler now has to play games to say, this is a high achiever, I only could give him 3%, now I got to play games with everybody else to get them down to 2 or 1 or 0%. because he's a high achiever. So now the high achiever is 3%, and now the average will be more like what Sean said for cost of living. Because now Dr. Metzler cannot give a high achiever above 3%. That's all I'm saying. I think we should, we put it in the budget and he should control it. That's the way it is. I'm done.
Barbara?
So we have to acknowledge the reality of the world we're living in right now. I just saw a layoff at work today. It's another round of layoffs. I know that 25% or more people don't have jobs. It's a very high unemployment rate. A 3% raise in this environment is a very good raise.
Okay. Anyone else before we take it to vote? There's a motion on the floor. Billy Cat, call the roll, please.
Mr. Boyle,
Yes.
Mr. Doobie,
Yes.
Dr. Farah,
Yes.
Mrs. Kishka,
Yes.
Ms. Lowe's,
Yes.
still no Mrs. Mockamer, Mrs. Malcolm,
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill,
Yes.
Mrs. Parnell,
Yes.
Mrs. Savage,
Yes.
Mrs. Silva,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney,
No.
and Mrs. Yasenka is still not here.
Okay, motion passes. Next agenda item, SAU building lease. I am in receipt of a email from the Timberlane School Board Chair, just again documenting our end of lease, which I believe, do you know what the date was, Kim?
By contract, in order to dissolve the lease, Timberlane needs to put the SAU on written notice at least 1 year in advance. So, and Ryan, if SAU board members should get a copy of that. I don't know if it was in the agenda packet or not, but Timberlane board members have it because it was voted on at a Timberlane board meeting. So this is the written notification to the SAU that the lease will terminate as of June 30th, 2021.
Okay.
There's no action needed by the SAU. The Timberlane, and I know the SAU took action, but contractually it states that the leasees need to provide written notice, and that's what I did.
Okay. Okay. Next order of business, I want to go into a non-public, I have my numbers here.
I'd like to motion for a non-public under 91A:3, Section 2, paragraphs A and C.
I second.
Barbara, okay, before we take this vote, so Barbara, walk me through how this is going to happen.
All right, because we don't have a breakout room available, what we're gonna have to do is, do we expect to come back from non-public?
No.
All right, so we have 34 attendees.
I would say maybe yes.
I would say maybe yes. I would.
Yes, we should.
All right, so if we come back, right now, I don't have a good way to dismiss the public attendees and then bring them back in. And I will have to dismiss the attendees to make it non-public. So what I suggest is that we have a time when we're going to reconvene in public. Can we have a time certain when we're going to reconvene and people can rejoin the meeting?
Barbara, does this meeting have a waiting room?
I don't have a waiting room enabled for this meeting, and I can't do it at this late time.
Yeah, I understand.
Well,
oh, I could, let me see. I don't think I can do it after the meeting has started.
I could start a Zoom with my account that I could send to this board, but I don't know if that's appropriate or not.
how are you planning on putting this in non-public though, Barbara?
Well, I was just going to keep this meeting so everybody stays here, stays put, and then just ask the attendees who are dialed in from the public to hang up. And then when, if we say we're going to reconvene at a certain time, they could come back in.
Barbara,
Okay,
can I
then
ask,
this
though,
is-
how does that stop someone from joining later on?
I will keep an eye on the attendees and remove them, anybody I see that joins after, while we're non-public.
Okay, I have to say that I have an issue with that because you could have someone join in and not notice. I'm not saying that you wouldn't be paying attention, but if we're having a conversation and if we're talking about something that should be covered in non-public, we need to have a way that it stays non-public.
I agree.
Okay, so I think then Lee's solution
Barbara,
is the
hold
best.
on, Barbara. Do you have a waiting room set up for this? Could you put everybody into a waiting room?
No, she doesn't have it set up, she just said.
Yeah,
No,
I
that's
think that's an option at this point.
Okay. I think what we're gonna have to do is do what Lee is suggesting. Lee, can you send out an email to all the board members with a new link? Keep this meeting open should we need to reconvene.
Yeah, I'm trying to find everyone's email address. That's going to be my challenge.
Okay, the one I sent earlier today about the meeting, I think has everybody except Deb Ford on it.
Okay. Let me get a notepad open.
Deb.
Deb, do you mind giving out your email address over the air here?
No. Lee, send it to me. I'll forward it to Deb. Just
Roger
send out the
that.
link. I'll forward it.
Barbara, I thought you had this, maybe I misread those emails, Barbara. I thought this was separate, there was a separate email for non-public.
Won't work because she can't have, the host can't host two different meetings at the same time.
Gotcha.
I'm on it right now, folks. Give me 3 minutes here.
Okay.
We're going to require password.
This is the makeshift IT department. Well, the other IT
Yeah,
department's on vacation.
I'm going to enable a waiting room to play it safe, folks.
Good idea.
I'm going to continue and do that.
Raising their hand. Oh, Mr. Does anybody mind if we allow Mr. Woodworth to talk while we're discussing this?
Yeah, that's great. If he's on, that'd be great.
Mr. Woodworth, you should be able to talk.
Hi, good evening. I just wanted to know if there's a time that would be good for the public to check back in.
We have no idea.
Okay.
That was my answer. Maybe an hour?
It'll take at least a half hour, right?
I would think so. At least 30 minutes.
All right, I'll be checking. Thank you.
Dinner break.
All right, folks, the invite has been sent. Please check your email. If you have not received it, let me know. Except for Deb, I know you don't have it yet. Kim is fast, but not that fast.
I have it. Deb, I'll forward it to you.
Okay.
Okay. So while we're doing that, so I guess we can call the roll. Well, I guess before we do that, let's make sure everyone on the board has this. I have it, Lee.
We have to vote to go into non-public.
That's what I'm saying. Before I call that, I wanted to make sure that everyone on this board received their email from Lee.
So, hey, Kat, you just want to go around the room like you would call a roll call vote just to confirm everyone received the link?
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Sure. Brian
Thank you.
Boyle,
Received.
Lee Doobie,
Received.
Kim Farah,
Received.
Barbara Kishka,
Received.
Sheila Lowe's,
Received.
no Sarah, Megan Malcolm,
Yes, I have it.
Sean O'Neill,
Yes, I do.
Caitlin Parnell,
I have it.
Kristen Savage,
Have it.
Jennifer Silva,
Yes.
David Smith,
Yes.
James Sweeney,
No, I don't have it. Gmail is saying it's, I don't know, retrying to retrieve information. I don't know. So not to hold anybody up, Caitlin, I'm gonna when I hang up, I'll call you and get it from you personally. And you give me the ID and the password and stuff. And then I'll hop on. Is that all right?
Okay. Yep, it's fine with me.
Thank you, Jim.
You chat directly to Jim. Oh, he's not on a.
Yeah.
Barbara,
I'm
I
good.
sent a message too about don't leave this meeting.
I will leave this meeting up. I will leave it on mute and I'll turn off my video and I'll be on another computer for the non-public.
Board members, make sure everybody leaves this meeting.
Yes.
Okay.
Deb, do you have it?
I do, but I'm having trouble getting in, so I'm dealing with it. I'll be there.
I think you have to leave one meeting to go to the other.
Yeah, I'm gonna try that. Let me try that. Okay.
All right. I'll
Okay.
see you all there.
You gotta do roll call vote for the.
We have to call a roll.
Yeah.
That's what I was just about to say. Mr. Boyle,
Yes.
Mr. Doobie,
Yes.
Dr. Farah,
Yes.
Mrs. Kishka,
Yes, going into non-public, right?
yes.
Yes.
Ms. Lowe's,
Yes.
no Mrs. Mockamer. Mrs. Malcolm,
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill,
Yes.
Mrs. Parnell,
Yes.
Mrs. Savage,
Yes.
Mrs. Silva,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney,
No.
and no Mrs. Yasenka.
Okay, leaving.